What part of F1 does Sainz think is a little bit of a mess? How is Doohan feeling after his Suzuka crash? And what was Antonelli's experience of the Iceman? Here is part one of all the things we learned from the driver's press conference at the Bahrain F1 race weekend. Doohan didn't say much apart from the fact that he was just winded from his crash, and he is completely perfect. With Antonelli, he said that learning about the tyres has been super important. For example, he did struggle with warming up the tyres during qualifying at Suzuka, but it's great that he's learning about it because he believes that tyres are going to be very important at Bahrain. Also, particularly in reference to Suzuka, he said that because the cars are so efficient, the DRS effect is less. And lastly, he understands why Raikkonen is called the Iceman. He met him in 2018 at Monza and he was super excited, but Raikkonen basically had no reaction whatsoever. And then we get to Sainz, who definitely said the most. Firstly, he kicks it off by saying that if you expect to see the best of him in a new car after 3 races, you don't understand F1 very well. And whilst he hasn't been able to put a full weekend together, he still feels like he's quite quick. However, he was asked why there seems to be a difference between their performance during pre-season testing and the actual races, to which he said there are a number of things, including road surface and balance. When asked about the differences between Ferrari and Williams, he said that you can really tell the difference between their power units. Furthermore, he does have muscle memory left over from driving the Ferrari, and whilst that's helpful in some places, in other places it really isn't because the Ferrari reacts differently to other cars. Looking to last weekend, Sainz said that you can't overtake a Suzuka, nor can you in the midfield. However, they have asked Pirelli to make tyres that degrade at a slower rate and are less sensitive to overheating, but now that's led to one-stop races, so they're complaining. Therefore, he thinks that everyone kind of needs to get together so they can decide on the same narrative, because right now it's a bit of a mess. He thinks that perhaps for next year they could choose a softer set of compounds, and he's hoping that overall they will move to selecting compounds that allow for races where there's a sweet spot between either having a one-stop or a two-stopper, because that can really mix up the strategies. Sainz went on to talk about getting a fine for being late to the national anthem, and he said that he likes to be a gentleman and therefore punctual, especially to the national anthem, so he did apologise, but at the same time he was 5 seconds late. And while Sainz didn't mention this part, we all know that that was because he had a bit of a stomach issue. Anyway, so he feels like paying 10,000 euros for that is a little bit... And as most drivers say, he really wants to know where this fine money is going. It would be nice if he could at least say it went to a good cause. Lastly, speaking about the 2026 regs, he does not like what he's seeing. In fact, he thinks it is a little strange that everyone seems to be saying that the 2026 regs aren't that good, but it isn't up to him, it's all to do with politics.